Hello, 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 hit seekers. Hello, everyone. What a wonderful, wonderful Monday evening it is. We have a lot to talk about. Boy, did we time this one up right. PSA announces their massive price changes, which we will go through here in a little bit. But I am very excited to be chatting with all of you today to talk through a lot that we have going on. So I posted on Saturday. I posted that we had received back 4 PSA submissions, all of them stacked at the same time. I had mentioned to you guys since the last time that I subbed, I was subbing roughly 100 cards a month back in April, May, June, knowing that they would take forever and that eventually I would get them back and I'd be thrilled. So the thought process was you sub 100 a month, you get 100 a month back. Well, right when the transaction was going through for the sale of PSA to their new investors, that did not happen. I ended up getting all of these cards back at once, and holy cow, is it a lot. This here that you see in front of you is just a little bit of it. I picked maybe 15 cards for us to go through because I think there's some other fun stuff for us to talk through as well that could be, really enjoyable. So what are we doing tonight? What do we have on the agenda? Love you to shoot a shout out if you're here watching with us. This is all about just hanging out and chatting about the hobby and all the craziness that is going on. So tonight what we're going to do is we're going to go through a couple things that I kind of found as my things that I learned about. So if you look, I got maybe 15, 20 cards here that I want to talk about. And I think that those are pretty important for us to be able to chat through why we graded, what we learned, those sorts of things. Then we're going to talk about PSA's big announcement today and what that means for all of us hit seekers as we look to grade our collections. Hey Kenny, how you doing? And then finally, I want to talk about something that we've been chatting about for a while, which is really what we've been talking about with respect to how do we kind of teach people, not necessarily investing, because we're not going to offer investment advice, but we've created a challenge that we're calling the double play, the baseball double play. And so we're gonna go through that as well. So with that, we're gonna kick things off here. We've got to kick things off. So we've got 4 subs. They were all about 100 cards each, all 45 day. And man, boy, was it glorious when I went to pay these invoices. I was paying an average of $9 a card. That was, I want to go back to those days. A lot of it, one entire sub was Bowman. 2020 Bowman that we had ripped, that we got really excited, got in breaks. 2 of the 45-day subs were collections that I had purchased. Lots or collections, went through, sifted out a lot of modern-day basketball. And then the last one was just a hodgepodge of cards that we felt were worth grading of various sports. So with that, I'm gonna dive in kind of to the bigger ones, and these are the bigger ones. As I mentioned, I don't want to spend hours talking about the entirety of 2020 Bowman, but here we go. Hey Derek, welcome to the stream as always. Appreciate you jumping in, and like I said, guys, ask questions along the way. We're going to start. I divided these up by sport, so I'm going to kick it off with some football. And kind of walk you through a little bit of what we got going on. So the first card that I'll show you is one that I'm really excited about. This is a 19 Panini National Convention Patrick Mahomes, numbered to 40, College Explosion. Now, you guys have heard me talk through this before. I don't like anything in a college uniform. It's just not my thing. But this was part of a bigger collection or lot that I purchased a while ago. Was really excited to see it graded a 10. And what's really cool about it is its population is pop 3. So there's only 3 of these in existence. Now, mind you, it's out of 40, but was really excited to see this one graded 10. And I am huge on Mahomes, so that helps. But I'll probably sell this one just because I'd prefer to have something of him in his pro uniform. In that same collection, we got a card that there's no way we're going to be able to sell this, given my dad's Brett Favre collection. This is a Pop 1. Brett Favre Downtown 2019 Gem Mint. Might be Pop 2, actually. I need to look again. But either way, Brett Favre Downtown as part of a much larger lot. This one's going straight into the PC of my dad. But still a gorgeous card nonetheless. Yeah, I'm pretty interested in that too, David. The new PSA rates are it's hefty. We're going to talk about it in a second. This one, frankly, so this is a Tom Brady Optic Hollow. It graded a 9. I was really bummed that it got a 9. It's incredibly well centered. The surface is clean. I thought for sure this was a 10. But I think Brady, just in general, is really tough on grading, and so I think that's kind of why we ended up with the 9 here. But still a cool card. So then we move into some basketball. And what I'll say about the basketball, it's all modern day stuff, but pretty exciting stuff. So in a different lot that I had purchased, or collection, I can't remember if it was a collection or a lot, but big box of cards. A lot of modern day basketball, and really the guy just had no interest in it. So we got Bam Adebayo, Optic rookie, 10, which I was pretty pumped about. Also in that same exact box, we ended up with 2 more of the 17 Optic rookies. Tatum 10 and Tatum 9. But still, I mean, I was pretty pumped. Nothing graded below a 9 on this, so these were fun to get in. And I'm pretty high on Tatum. I mean, he showed himself in the bubble last year as being the future of the Celtics, so that's kind of cool, nonetheless. And then there were some, also in this same lot, there were some really unique Prism. So RJ Barrett, 10, 2 of them. In fact, we subbed 3 of these cards, and all 3 of them got PSA 10s, which I was really, really excited about. And obviously, Prism is the card. And so to get the card of RJ Barrett, especially with how the Knicks are playing this year, I think is something we're gonna hold on and watch the market a little bit and see what happens with his cards. From there, let me get these up on a stand here. From there, we move to some of the other. Yeah, I was pretty excited about that one, David. Honestly, Prism in general is just kind of a tough grade. So I was kind of challenged with that. Speaking of tough grades, this player is a little less known, but Dante DiVincenzo, the reason I graded this, so I picked up 8 of these cards for $30 back in May of last year, mainly because the Optic Shocks, if you guys ever have an opportunity to buy an Optic Shock of a key rookie or somebody you're interested in, and it's graded well, keep it. Because these are incredibly hard to grade. In fact, the pop on this card, I need to look at it real quick. The population on the Optic Shocks are terrible because they're known for a crazy print line. And they all pretty much have the same print line right down the middle. Of the 8 that I purchased, I subbed 5 of them, and 4 of them were 10s. So I was really excited about that. Again, not a super well-known player, but the Bucks are going to make the playoffs again, right? And Giannis will be relevant, which means, he's likely relevant as well. So, pretty excited about that one. Also in some of that 2017 stuff that I thought was kind of interesting, I got quite a bit of Trey. And Trey is because of how he was traded, and Luka and him were traded together, he's always been enamored. This is a Contenders lottery ticket that gemmed out that I was really excited about. Also in this lot was his Court Kings, and was his, we had a bunch. His optics. There's a bunch of Trey in this overall basketball collection that we purchased, and a lot of them gemmed out, which was really great. And then more modern day stuff. So this was also, again, any silver that you can get. This was also in that exact same lot. This is a Jaren Jackson Jr. Silver Prism, PSA 10, which, he's a stud, and just the fact that anytime you can get Prism in general or optic in lot purchases, you ought to look at it and determine whether or not it's worth grading, because more often than not, it really turns out to be. Yeah, Mooner, we're going to talk through that because I'm going to go through the price increase here in a second, and that might help. And then the last one of basketball that I thought was just interesting to show. I just really like how some of the select product looks. This is a DeAndre Hunter Tricolor Prism Select. Again, DeAndre Hunter is not, he's not setting the world on fire right now, but it's just a gorgeous card, and at a PSA 10, it's one to have. If he has a really big game, his market's going to pop pretty quickly. And when that happens, we're going to be standing, ready to move and move this into bigger cards. One of the things that I talk about a lot, hey Dave, how are you? That I talk about a lot is one of the things that I'm working on just personally. Like as I get cards like this that I'm really excited about, I've been working really hard at what I don't think I know what it's called, but it's like laddering, right? I'm consolidating all of these cards into much larger cards so that, it's easier to manage and kind of work through the overall collection. Before I jump into the Bowman, I want to show you guys the Bowman that I subbed and the big highlights from the Bowman. One of the things that I try to do with every sub is learn at least something about the process. So, I subbed a bunch, like I said, in total 400 cards. There were a couple things that came up. So this was the lowest graded paper prospect that I had. It graded an 8, and I can see why now. And I should have had this under a loop. But what I learned is if you look at this bottom left corner is frayed. So it rightfully got an 8. But once you get an 8, you understand it's an 8. You see it, and you're like, oh yeah, it died. Probably, I wonder if you guys can see that if I get it in focus. Yeah. You guys can kind of see that down there. Now that I saw that, it was very easy for me to know that now, and and it's an 8. Okay. But counter to it being an 8, this one just makes me laugh. This is a Tyler Hero Prism 5. And it makes me laugh because I honestly, I took my light and loop out yesterday and went through the card. Sorry, that was a really bad glare. Went through the card and tried to understand why did this get a 5, and I can't do it. And ironically, I've got a stand on my desk in my home office with my lowest grades because I think it's funny, and this is actually the lowest grade I've ever received, a 5. So I'm still trying to figure out why it's a 5. But I think it's hilarious nonetheless. And I do like Tyler Hero, but it's just funny. Jeff, I will absolutely talk about the lots. So let's talk about lots for a moment, because I think that's really, really important. Yeah, David, I know, man. Crack it and resub. I could. But I just think it's funny, Dave. I don't know. Part of me likes having the 5. Jeff, when I look for lots, I love to purchase lots. Let me make that very, 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 very true, very clear. I love it. I love it because just like buying in bulk, you're getting a much better deal. And so I typically look for lots anywhere from, I try to buy less cards. So I try to keep lots anywhere from 1 to 300 cards because they're more manageable. And what I'm looking for when I'm evaluating a lot is not necessarily an upper price limit, but I'm looking for, is there a subset of cards less than 10, and this is again, there's no science to this. This is just my general rule of thumb. Is there a subset of cards less than 10% of the total volume that if I sold the way that I like to sell, which is typically grading or selling quickly, then will I be able to cover the entire cost of the lot? So let me put that into practice for a second. When I purchased this basketball lot, I believe I paid $1,500, and I think, and I'd have to go back and look at the data, but I'm pretty sure this $1,500 lot was consistent upon about 6, maybe 400 or 500 cards. And of that, I felt like 10 to 15 of the cards, if they gemmed out, would more than cover the entire price of the lot. So it was a lot easier for me to go ahead and make a move on that. And I did. And I mean, like you said, right now, modern basketball is getting hit pretty hard, right? Because everybody's moving into vintage stuff. But if the Heat can make a run to get into the playoffs, Bam's cards are going right back to 400. And so it's all about now that you have the inventory, watching what's happening, remaining relevant, and buying these lots has been a really fun way. Now, I will tell you, and when we talk about the price increase for PSA, I do think that that's going to change the strategy quite a bit, and we'll talk about that here in one moment. Back to the learning curve here. This was a Dominguez camo, and again, now that I see it, you got a raw corner there and a raw corner there. That's why it's a 7. I get it. Cool card nonetheless. So those were kind of the learning curves. So to end out kind of the graded, submission, I want to walk you through my favorite kind of Bowman hits, if you will. These are all focused around the two big guys, Bobby Witt Jr. and Jason Dominguez. I love Bowman. I love prospect chasing. I love baseball in general. These first two, I'm not going to lie, I'm really bummed. I thought for sure at least one of them would 10, and I don't understand why they didn't. So this is a Bobby Witt Jr. gold foil out of 50, and it pulled a 9. This one, I'll tell you guys, I'm deeply considering cracking and resubbing. I don't see it. It is incredibly well centered. The surface looks really nice. And I just think, to me, when I hit this card in a break, this is one of those cards that, if he turns out to be, a massive player like a Tatis or an Acuna, this is one that you absolutely want to have. So I was kind of bummed about this one. I mean, it is a little off-center left to right. I see that. But I don't think it's off-center left to right to give it a 9. So that's one that I'm considering cracking and resubbing. Very similarly is the Bobby Witt Jr. Aqua Shimmer. I thought this color was gorgeous. And again, I think the centering is pretty well done. I didn't really, this one's out of 125. The gold's out of 50. I was hoping for one of them to 10, but they didn't. That's okay. The last kind of 3 hits on the Bowman perspective are all Jason Dominguez. This is another one where I just don't see it. I mean, again, yes, off center slightly left to right, but not significantly. And, purple Dominguez out of 250 is one that I want to just, lock away in the safe and see how he turns out and come back and know that it's there. But, I'm not sure about that one, but again, pretty cool. This one I knew was a hard grade in general. This is the blue paper out of 150. And again, I see where this one is a 9 just because this one is very poorly centered. In fact, all of the Bowman paper numbers are poorly centered. I almost wish that they would notice that before they number the cards and just pull them off the press. I have not seen a single, it doesn't matter if it's Bowman, Bowman Draft, or Bowman Chrome. Well, Chrome doesn't have paper, but Bowman or Bowman Draft that has had a well-centered paper numbered color. But, again, it's a 9, which I'm pretty happy about and, excited to again, lock that one away. second to last here, I was glad this one got a 10. I was glad to at least have 110 of the camo. These are really hard to gem. So having it, I was just really happy about. But again, these cards, because the paper Bowman is either off center or typically has some corner issues, these cards are really, really hard to gem. So I was really thrilled to have it. And then the last one, I think it's probably the biggest card of this submission that I was pumped about. I actually bragged about it when we had our Show Off Your Cards post, is the Jason Dominguez Sky Blue Foil PSA 10 first edition. So I am huge like believer in this guy. And this is one of those cards that I just told my dad I'm probably signing up for a PWCC vault, and I'm probably just going to ship this one over there and let it sit for a while and just see what happens. So very, very excited. It was really fun, frankly, to kind of get all these cards back. Now we're working through an overall plan to move them and to like determine what we're going to do. I will tell you one thing we're going to pilot for all of you iPhone users. If you guys know, we're one of the early breakers on the app Loop. They're releasing an Android version here pretty soon. But one of the things we're going to do is we're going to be doing some hit packs that I'm pretty excited about. So all PSA 9s or 10s priced to market, and we're creating our own rippable packs of cards. We're going to do that live on Loop on Sunday, which should be really, really fun. I'm just excited to see how that goes. And who knows, if it goes over well there, we'll probably bring them to this group and see what happens. Like, I just think it's an enjoyable way to kind of share these out and add some excitement to it. Jeff, your Jefferson Red Cracked Ice, did they come back in? Meaning, did they come back from PSA? Sorry about that. Let me know on that one. Yeah, Jake, the numbered paper is just hilariously bad. I don't get it. I really don't. But it is what it is. So next up, I want to go through. I want to talk PSA in general. Jeff, no, those are definitely they're still subbed out. You'll get text messages along the way. If you're not getting any text, send me a private message, and I'll make sure that you're on there. All right. So now we're going to move to I'm going to call it a brief presentation. And you're going to lose me for a moment, but I think it's important to show you. I can still see the chat, and I can still see everything that you guys are saying. But I want to talk about a few things. Primarily, the first thing I want to talk about is our... Oops. Did not mean to do that. Sorry. Had that all lined up perfectly. Okay. I want to talk about PSA's new pricing and what that means for hit seekers. So today, PSA announced new pricing, and it's tough. Previously, PSA, if you recall, has been running 10-day, 20-day, and then 45-day submissions based on how old your card is. And frankly, the turnaround times have been really bad. 10-day is currently running 2 months. 20-day is currently running 6 months. And 45-day is currently running like 8 to 10 months. And so I think what they noticed is, what I've noticed at least, is 20-day and 45-day are virtually running at the same time, which is way too long. So what they've done is they've announced new pricing out to the market, and we've talked to Jared at Gem Mint about what that means for us. And here's what it means. First and foremost, 10-day service is now renamed to regular service. Regular service is now $95. 20-day service has gone away completely. They eliminated it altogether. 45-day ultra modern is now called Value Ultra Modern, and 45-day Modern is called Value Modern. What does that mean? So what they've done here is they've eliminated the 20-day service, which is really, really interesting. And they've basically created, there are two subsets of grading cards now. One, I want my cards back incredibly quickly, and I'm going to pay for it, $95 a card. And two, I'm willing to sub these, and I don't mind when I get them back. And that's what it means now. The elimination of the 20 days is basically eliminating those people who, I mean, I would say I probably subbed the majority of my cards, 80% of them, 20 day. So what does it mean? Look, it's a healthy market. I mean, I had a conversation with Jared at Jim Mint where he said, you know, the last price increase that took place about 90 days ago, the card submissions did not slow down. So it wasn't enough, and I think this is their attempt at saying, look, we got to stop grading literally everything. I'll be really intrigued to see what happens over the course of time. I've had a lot of people reach out to me today via private message and via everything, via all the communications channels, and ask, like, does that mean I'm going to switch to Beckett, or have you looked at HGA, or My response is very simple, guys. The market says the PSA 10 is the most valuable card. And until that changes, I'm not grading with anyone else. It will change my strategy for how I go about grading and what I grade. I can assure you, I will not be sending in a lot of Bowman like I did at $9 a card to just have. I'm going to wait for the player to play out first. If he seems to have a big career, then I'll sub him. But yeah, Chris, I agree, man. It is almost double. It is a huge increase. And it is really, really tough to take. But I do believe it deep down. It at least indicates that the cards that we have that are graded are going to be worth more. Because grading, I believe, will slow down a little bit. But happy to answer any questions as well if anybody has them with respect to PSA. What I will say, because this is important, is every card that was in my possession as of last Friday was sent, and I'm waiting for him to confirm with me that it all got in. I believe that it did. Anything that's coming in this week and anything that I sub going out moving forward is going to be under this new pricing, which means a lot of you have reached out to me that you've sent me, 100 plus cards. We're going to have a conversation before we start working through this, and make sure that we're all aligned on what that pricing looks like and how we go about it. Yeah, Derek, that's a great question. And one of the things that we asked, that I kind of asked Jared when we were talking through this, we don't know. What we know is that the time frame nomenclature was terrible, because they haven't hit any of these time frames since I've been doing this for over a year, and so they had to rename it. I do think that they are investing right away on basically spending and offering up graded through dates so that you have the opportunity to know how far behind they are. That's one thing that they communicated. So that's interesting, and how that goes about it, and kind of make sure, where we go from here. Ryan, your two Jefferson autos they're in my possession for grading review. They would go under this new pricing. We'll talk about it. I'll send you a PM. We talk about what we want to go through. Mooner, your 3 free submissions 20 day will default down to that modern, or that value, ultra modern or modern. But yes, we'll still honor your 3 free submissions. And Chris, Chris, you say that this will slow things down a lot. It might. but I don't know if it will. To be honest, like I think you're going to see a lot more people push cards into that value time frame. Specifically me. I mean, I can tell you for me, like I'm super interested in how this is going to work. But at the same time, I know that, I really wanted to set it up to where I got 100 graded cards back every month. That's why I subbed 100 from April, May, June, and July. I didn't expect 400 to come at once. That's actually more difficult for me. One, because I had to run my credit card for like $4,500 in graded fees, which is never fun to do. But two, because it's a lot to digest. Like it took me 2 days to go through, sort, and organize all these cards. That was an incredible 2 days, and I had a blast doing it. But the market is hot, guys, and I think we should be happy about that. I do wish that they kind of rolled this out a little bit better, but they didn't. So, what other questions do we have? Yeah, Jake, I agree. They are accurately redefining expectations, and I could not agree with you more. I always joked that PSA didn't have a timeline problem; they had a branding and expectation problem. But it is what it is. Yeah, Chris, that's a great question. So, Chris asks, at what point does Jim Mint step in with their PSA reps for 10-day subs that are over 2 months? Chris, that particular order is one that I've been asking on for the past 3 weeks because it has my resub of my Brady as well as your cards. There was a time period right when I got all of these 45-day cards back that PSA stopped working on everything except super old 45-day. So no 10-day, no 20-day, they completely stopped and moved everything over. And so what I think's happened now is they're picking up the pace. I'd imagine those grades will pop in the next week or two because I had a 10-day pop tonight, actually, that just popped. So I'm hoping, Chris, that we get that sub or get those grades very soon. Oh man, Richard, I'm sorry. You had 43 in there. I'm sorry to hear that. So what I want to talk about next, guys, and I'm going to turn the camera on here again just to kind of flip through some of this stuff. What I wanted to talk about next, again, we're still going to talk graded cards. We're still going to answer all the questions, kind of how we're playing this out. But I was talking to a few members the other day, and we were just kind of chatting about content, what's interesting, how to continue to learn from each other throughout the hobby. And that's one of the things that I thought could be pretty fun. And that's why we created what we're launching today, which is we're calling it the Baseball Season Double Play. And I will, I'm not going to move the camera. I'm just going to leave it where it is. It's overlaid on this Baseball Season Double Play. Let me see if I can make it. Maybe I can make it smaller. There we go. Look at that. Innovation. So here's the Baseball Season Double Play. And what I'm excited about is chatting with you guys on this and trying to understand, what do you think? What would you do? And how do we refine this so that we learn from each other? The first thing I'll say is, our goal is simple. We want to create educational content. We want to share the hobby with you. And I kind of want to show people, because a lot of people ask how I'm approaching certain things in the season. And so what I thought would be really fun is to run this experiment. And the experiment is that I'm going to take $5,000 beginning today, and I'm going to purchase baseball cards. The simple goal is that I want to double my money before the end of the season. And what I think will be fun is, one, I want you guys to weigh in on this chat because I'm going to show you what I'm going to target and why I'm going to target it. And I want you guys to kind of weigh in. Do you like it? Do you not? And then I think, frankly, every month we'll go in and check. I'll be able to log all of these cards into Market Movers. So we'll log into Market Movers. We'll see which cards are overperforming, underperforming, and why. And we'll be able to kind of have some fun with this and check in once a month when we do our graded card updates on what's going on. So what does it look like, and what are the rules? I gave ourselves some rules. The rules are pretty simple. The first is that I want this to be a true timestamp. Like, on an infinite horizon, anything can happen. But I want this to actually be a challenge, right? And so what that means is that everything has to be purchased and sold between March 1st and October 27th. October 27th is the theoretical Game 7 of the World Series, if it gets that far. That means that beginning today, we're going to start working through everything, getting strategic on how we play it. We can buy and sell at any time during this time frame, but we have to track everything. The other thing is that all of these transactions have to be recorded. There's no guerrilla math where we say, all of a sudden, I can't figure out why my money doubled. Well, I'm not calculating fees, or I'm not calculating shipping. Like, oftentimes selling cards can be hard. And so we want to track all of that as well and make sure that we understand, what's going to work and what's not going to work. And then the last one is we're going to check in every month. So every month as we do our graded card updates, as we have been, like tonight, we'll check in and we'll share what's working and what's not. And so with that, I want to kind of lay out the way I'm going to approach this. I haven't begun buying yet. I'm going to begin buying this month. And here is kind of the way that I'm thinking about approaching baseball and why in 2020. And obviously, I want your guys' feedback on this. So here's how we're thinking about this. And again, I want to make this very clear. Under no circumstances are we giving out investment advice or anything. Like, I'm recognizing that sports cards could blow up tomorrow and I could lose all $5,000. But I think that this could be a really fun way for all of us in this community to learn together and share some tips that we think are pretty cool. So with that, I'm going to start from the bottom and go up and talk through what I'm doing. The first thing you'll notice in the way that I'm approaching this is that I have quantity of 2 of almost everything except Mookie Betts. And the reason I have quantity of 2, this is one of the things that I love to do personally. If I can buy 2 of the same card, I do it almost all the time. Why? Because it makes the decision to sell a lot easier, especially when both cards rise or when both cards fall. So, for instance, I'm going to start by buying doubles of the same card of everything that we're working through. Because if, for instance, Tatis continues to rise at an incredible clip, and all of a sudden in July, his card's worth $600 each, I can now sell one, maintain my position in Tatis, and free up that $600 to reinvest or to play into a different player. So my thought process here was a couple things. Tatis and Acuna were my 2 bets on kind of up and coming young stars. I really wanted to put Juan Soto in there as well, but Acuna and Tatis have a better chance at making the playoffs, and thus I think give more of an opportunity to get more eyeballs on kind of how they're going. Soto is definitely high on my list, but right now these are the 2 that I'm thinking about starting with. Bellinger and Mookie Betts. So the Dodgers are the favorites to repeat the World Series. I believe Cody Bellinger's cards are incredibly undervalued because he played terribly in the playoffs, had a really rough year in the bubble, in the COVID area. And so because of that, his cards were once $500 a piece. So at $225 each, I think this is one of my quick bets is saying, okay, if he comes out hot, this card's going to rise pretty quickly. I can dump one, keep one as he heads into kind of mid-season or playoff. I mentioned this a while ago. Yordan Alvarez is one that I have my eye on because of its low dollar amount. It's a lot easier for a card to go from $125 to $300 in baseball than it is for Mookie Betts to go from $950 to $3,000. And so that's something that I'm looking at because I think if he has a couple big games, you could see this double pretty quickly. Then I wanted to take a little bit of a different approach here as well. So Wander Franco with Wander Franco, I am going to be taking the approach of I'm buying a couple of his first Bowman Chromes because he's going to play this year. No one knows when. No one knows when he's going to be up. But the minute he does get called up, this card will go up in value. And so it'll be very interesting to see how that plays out and how long together we hold this card, because who knows? He may not end up making it to the league. Who knows what's going to happen? But it's one that I'm watching. Then the other one, this kind of second big bet that I'm making here is instead of playing, so Derek Jeter gets inducted into the Hall of Fame in July this year. Instead of making the play of taking Derek Jeter, his Topps base chrome or his gold rookies, they're already kind of priced out of this $5,000 competition. I'm going to try to approach it from a different angle. I've been scouring eBay for the past 4 weeks to try to buy 2 of his autographed cards for under $550 a piece and send them off to grade. And if they come back 10s, sell them right around the time, or even if they come back 9s, but sell them right around the time that he makes the Hall of Fame run. Because I think what's going to happen is you're going to have a lot of Jeter collectors that want uniqueness. And this is kind of risky, I think, but I'm kind of intrigued by it. And then the last one is Mookie Betts 10. He plays for the favorite in the MLB. He's got some pretty hefty odds at being the MVP again. So I thought that, let's take a gamble on him. He was a monster last year, and I'm really intrigued to see kind of how that plays out. So with that, I'd love to get your guys' feedback. Do you like the idea? Do you like the concept? Am I missing anybody? Like anybody that you're like, oh my gosh, how are you not jumping into this person? Because I'm going to keep looking through this and understanding the price points and the price movements. And my goal is to make all of the purchases in the month of March so that when we go live at the beginning of April to talk through the graded card market, PSA submissions, hopefully unveil some cards. I think it'll give us an opportunity to check in and talk through this for the next 6 or 7 months. So what do you guys think? I'm interested. Ooh, Chris Slouchik, Vlad Jr. has a big chance to boom. I agree. I think Vlad Jr. is definitely one on my list. Chris, another one on my list that I really thought about was Jason Dominguez. Because I don't think he's going to make it to the pros this year. But I do think people are still really intrigued by him overall. You can get his base Bowman Chrome, base Bowman Chrome for about $350 right now. But I didn't know how much that would rise during the season, so I was interested in that one. Robert, I'm not familiar with Clint Frazier. I'll have to look into him for sure and see where he plays. Kenny says, how am I not on Joey Votto? Great question, Kenny. I suppose Joey could have a good year being a Cincinnati guy. I just don't know that I see it. And I also think, if you notice, a lot of these guys are in major markets. L.A., New York, Atlanta, L.A., San Diego. I think there's a correlation with baseball and your media market and your card prices because it is such a regional sport. Ooh, Austin Riley. Chris recommends Austin Riley with Chipper as his new hitting coach. That's a really interesting one. I'll have to look at him for sure. Oh, Jeff, great question. Jeff asked if the Dodgers are going to give Gavin Lux a chance to play every day. I think Lux is going to get another chance. I really do. I could easily toss him in here. To be honest, Lux might be a better play than Bellinger because, if he does get a chance to play and proves himself, you're going to see that rise happen a lot faster. Derek thinks that Jared Kelenic has the opportunity to make a big splash this season. He'll be up early, of course. His early cards are Mets and not Mariners, but there could be opportunity. Derek, I'll look at Jared for sure. Is his early card, is he 2019 Bowman or 2020? Joe Adele, Richard, you're right. Joe Adele, for sure, has an opportunity, and I think he's going to be great as well. I've been buying up his 2021 Top Series 1 Raw. So Kelnick's 2018 Bowman. Okay, I'll look at that, Jeff and Derek. We'll see what we can come up with. Rendon, that's a great point. Michael Amato recommends Rendon because he's inexpensive and could have an MVP type season. Yeah, what's going to be really fun, and again, why I wanted to do this is because this is going to be documented along the way. These are going to save up into our YouTube page. We'll be able to go back mid-season, like right around the All-Star break. We'll be able to go back and say, okay, what were we thinking? What were we not? What are we noticing? We'll be able to make some moves and kind of play with this together. But I think it could be, again, I also may break from my 2-card rule. I just really like doing that because, again, it makes the decision to sell a lot easier. But I may break away from that. We'll see. The other thing I didn't put on here, with almost all these players, I'm going to be trying to buy either their first Bowman or their first rookie card in the Chrome version, because that's typically where we see most people move to first, and then the paper versions follow. So yeah, I mean, overall, guys, I think this is fun. I mean, I think this gives us a really great opportunity to have some fun together, to talk cards. Before I wrap up in the next 10 minutes or so, does anybody have any last questions or anything to add to the overall thought? Again, PSA submission, I'll tell you, I'm taking all this in right now, trying to understand what's happening with PSA sub. I will definitely lend my thoughts in private message and as we talk through this together as you sub your cards. But it's definitely something to look at. Bill Sharp on YouTube. Joe Adell will start in the minors this year. Yeah, I've heard that, Bill. Hopefully he gets called up, though, and who knows? Maybe the Angels can turn it around and actually, win a playoff series for a while, for the first time in a while. Jeff asks what will happen to Nolan Arenado prices if he shows he can hit outside of Coors and if the Cardinals are good. That's a good question, Jeff. I would say probably going up, to be honest. Chris just got a Mookie Betts first Bowman Chrome ready to mail, but may hold it raw for a while. Chris, I'll tell you, Mookie Betts is one of those guys that, because he got the MVP, World Series MVP, and won the World Series last year, he's a safe grade. I would not worry about grading his cards. Derek asked if I've updated the submission form with the new levels. Yes, Derek. All of the information has been updated on our website already, and then the submission form is updated. It just has a calculation error that I did not correct right before going live, but it'll get fixed before 9:30 tonight. And again, I know there are some pretty decent sized orders in transit to us right now. Before we dive into those, I'll definitely reach out and make sure that it's something the subber really wants to sub. I was really shocked, frankly, to see double. Again, I'll go back. I'll go back to the pricing here. I was pretty shocked to see double. DJ LeMahieu, that's a great question. Bradley asked the thoughts on DJ LeMahieu as a value investment. I don't know enough about him, Bradley, but I will look into him and I'll get back to you on that. Well, guys, overall, again, I can't thank you enough. It's really fun. Again, just a really great time. I'll kind of go back to the graded cards that we have here. It's really fun just to sit back and enjoy the hobby with all of you. Chris, to answer your question, so Chris asks, oh yeah, that keeps us from submitting a card worth 150 to 200 on a 10-day. Yeah, Chris, I think the biggest issue now is that oftentimes if you get a 9 on 10-day, you may be losing money on the grading fee, and I think that's the challenge that I have on it. Right now, I feel very confident that when I make a sub, if I sub 100 cards, I'm expecting 65 or more 10s and no more than 3 8s and nothing lower. That's why that's why I laugh really hard at this. Because this slipped through the cracks. I still don't know how it got a 5. I'm intrigued by it. But I have like certain expectations that over the past year, data has proven out could be, is pretty realistic. And now it's like, if I get 50 10s and 50 9s, I could be in trouble, which is tough. And that's a great question. Susan said this is what happens when you get bought out. Everything changes and prices goes up. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. What I will say, Susan, though, because I do think this is kind of important, Nat Turner, the guy who bought PSA or took them private, he is a true collector. So I do believe deep down, I believe a couple things. Deep down, I think long term, this is going to be better for the hobby. I also believe that PSA had a very real problem. And what I mean by that is, I think their submissions were getting so outlandish that they had to do something to slow down the volume. Because you can't just keep hiring people. Otherwise, processes break. You're going to end up submitting, or so many graded cards are coming into the market. I think that deep down, some of these changes, I don't know if they're going to stick long term, if they'll ever go back down, what that looks like. But I do believe that ultimately this will be better for the hobby, and I think that we will end up being better off for it, and Nat will be a good steward of PSA. I really do. Derek said to put his money where his mouth is. He just bought a lot of Celtic, 6 Celtic First Moment Chromes for $53. That's awesome, Derek. I'm gonna look into him. All right, guys. Again, I can't thank you enough. This has been a super fun hour. Really, again, just enjoy it. We'll be back tomorrow breaking. We've got a really fun break coming up this week. We're just still dealing with some of that crazy shipping delays that happened in the middle of the week last week. But as soon as it comes in, I know it's one this group's going to love. I'm pretty excited about what we put together. So with that, I really appreciate the time tonight. And we'll keep following up on this, and I'll keep you guys in the loop as how it goes. All right, guys. Have a great evening.